Murdoch wakes up in St. Agnes Orphanage after nearly dying in the destruction of Midland Circle. He is comforted by Maggie Grace, but panics as his senses are gone. As months pass by, Murdoch keeps the truth about being alive to Foggy Nelson and Karen Page. Murdoch, now a broken-down man, finally gets his senses back and tries to fight crime again as the Man in the Mask. However, he is rusty and loses. As he's on his knees, he pleads the thugs to kill him, but they run when they hear the cops. Meanwhile, FBI agent Ray Nadeem asks for a raise from SAC Tammy Hatley as his income is terrible, but she declines it. He goes on his weekly trip to get information from Wilson Fisk. Fisk only offers to speak if they keep Vanessa Mariana safe. Murdoch returns back to the church and is given a lecture by Sister Grace. He talks to her about how he has lost his faith and that he only has Daredevil left. Fisk works out in the prison gym, but suddenly gets shanked by Jasper Evans. He requests immediate release if he is going to keep giving information to the FBI because it makes him a target. The FBI agree to keep him imprisoned, but not in jail in the Presidential Hotel. However, on the way there, his van gets attacked by Albanians. Fisk is saved by Agent Benjamin Poindexter. After hearing of Fisk's release, Murdoch believes that people can't really change, just like Frank Castle said. He sees Nelson at a bar revealing he is alive. He informs the surprised Nelson that he isn't going back to his old life. He then leaves, having stolen Nelson's wallet to get ID into Rikers Island. Murdoch goes to see a prisoner named Malik Saini. Saini punches Murdoch and tells the guards, who are paid by Fisk, that he doesn't say anything. He is attacked by all of the guards and prisoners. He manages to get out with the help of the Albanians, who also hate Fisk. The Albanians tell Murdoch that Evans, the man who shanked Fisk, was paid by Fisk and is now out of jail. He then passes out in the taxi. When he wakes up, he finds himself being driven over the edge of the road and into the river. Poindexter goes about his day, stalking a woman named Julie Barnes, whom he had worked with previously. Deem arrives to arrest him for his actions at Rikers. Asks his lawyer, Benjamin Donovan, for information on Poindexter. Donovan returns with recordings of psych meetings from Poindexter's childhood. Nelson, who doesn't like District Attorney Blake Tower, is convinced by Marcy Stahl to start making a campaign to run for the position. Poindexter goes to Barnes's restaurant and mentions how he remembers her from their prior work. They talk for a while, but he accidentally reveals creepy information about her which causes her to run away. Poindexter returns to his apartment and freaks out, almost shooting himself, throwing objects, and throwing a knife at a picture of Barnes. He calms himself down by listening to recordings of the psych sessions. Fisk opens up to Poindexter about his past in order to gain the agent's trust. Poindexter joins Page, also finds out about Evans and goes to see him to expose Fisk. There she is attacked, but saved by Daredevil. Page tells him to turn himself over to the FBI so that Page and Nelson are safe. Murdoch accepts. Nelson, Murdoch, and Page bring Evans to the New York Bulletin to expose Fisk with his truth. Suddenly, Poindexter walks in wearing a Daredevil suit and murders many employees along with Evans and injuring Mitchell Ellison. Poindexter stops at Page and tells her Fisk says hello. Daredevil fights Poindexter and almost loses before the very skilled marksman gets away. Back at the Presidential Hotel, Fisk smiles as he watches the news saying that Daredevil killed many people at the Bulletin. He then has Barnes executed. Murdoch returns to the church, cut, bloody, and bruised. Grace tends to his wounds. He then meets with Melvin Potter, who confesses that he was coerced into creating an identical Daredevil suit. Potter then surprisingly attacks Daredevil, saying that he is forced to keep Daredevil there until the FBI arrive. Daredevil talks him out of it, so Potter attacks the FBI, letting Daredevil escape, but is arrested. Nadeem meets with Page and Nelson as they were the only ones not affected by the attack. They tell Nadeem that Fisk had himself shanked. Nadeem then goes to see Fisk and asks him. Fisk's response makes Nadeem believe Page. At Nadeem's house, the agent goes to the basement to get beers when he is ambushed by Daredevil, who tells Nadeem that an FBI agent attacked the Bulletin. The next morning, Nadim does research and concludes that Poindexter is the most likely person. Daredevil and Nadim go to Poindexter's apartment when he is gone. Daredevil finds the psych recordings. Poindexter suddenly arrives home and immediately notices something's wrong. Paige thinks that the best way to get Fisk away is to arrest him for past crimes. She visits Fisk and tries to get him to admit to killing his father, but he doesn't fold. To try to get him to reveal it, she tells him that she murdered James Wesley. Fisk goes to attack her, but she is taken away by FBI agents. Murdoch returns to the church and starts boxing. However, he overhears Grace upstairs praying for God and Jack Murdoch to watch over their son. Murdoch falls to the ground when realizing that Grace is his mother. Nadim goes to SAC Hatley and Agent Wynn to tell them about the Fisk conspiracy. However, Hatley kills Wynn and tells the recording tape that Nadim killed him. She then tells Nadim that her and many others are coerced by Fisk, whom they call the Kingpin, and she will use that as leverage if he doesn't join them. Daredevil enters the hotel and goes to the security room where he finds a coerced woman. He hears over the radio that Fisk wants Paige killed. The woman tells him that he has to kill Fisk now or else he might not have another chance. At the church, Paige witnesses mass from the hallways. Suddenly, Poindexter as Daredevil walks in asking for Paige. Daredevil runs in and punches Poindexter. They fight, but Daredevil gets knocked down. Paige, standing at the altar, accepts her fate and closes her eyes as Poindexter winds up to throw his billy club. The stick makes contact, but with Father Paul Lantom, who had stepped in front of Paige. As Lantom dies, he asks Murdoch to forgive him and Grace. Kingpin orders the FBI agents to release him from custody, which they do. He then hears about Nadim's actions and tells Poindexter to kill him. Nadim knows what is about to happen, so he rushes home and gets his family out of bed. FBI agents invade his home and he shoots many of them. Daredevil arrives and attacks as well. When all of them are defeated, Daredevil says he owes Nadim. He then reveals that he is Matt Murdock. Now that Kingpin is out of jail, he reunites with Mariana and announces their marriage. Nadim and Murdoch go to see Paige and Nelson. Nelson says that they have to try to take down Fisk the right way instead of killing him, so conclude that the best plan is to have Nadim testify. So they call in Tower. Nelson makes a deal with Tower that he will drop out of candidacy if Tower can listen to Nadim. After hearing the story, Tower says that Nadim would have to be arrested as well for the things that he has done. Nadim agrees and says that is okay. On the way to court, they are ambushed by Fisk's men, but manage to get to the courthouse. Upon arriving, Murdoch uses his senses to notice that the jury has been coerced by Fisk. Therefore, Nadim's declaration is ruled false. Nadim returns home and records another declaration on his phone and sends it to his wife, telling her to get it to Nelson. He then sits in his backyard as Poindexter approaches him. Poindexter draws his gun and kills Nadim. Murdoch believes that Fisk has to be killed now. They did it Nelson's way, and now it's his turn. Nadim's wife, Seema, goes to the FBI and asks for Nelson. She then shows him Nadim's video. Nelson realizes that this is a dying declaration, which means it will hold up in court. He concludes that he has to tell Murdoch before he kills Fisk. Mariana and Fisk set up for their wedding. At the wedding, the bulletin sends out Nadim's declaration to everyone. Poindexter then arrives in the Daredevil suit and attacks Fisk. Daredevil intervenes and the three chase each other up to the penthouse and fight. Poindexter is thrown into a wall by Kingpin, rendering him paralyzed. He gets Fisk on his knees and punches him continuously.
Kill me now! God knows I want you, but you don't get to destroy who I am. You will go back to prison, and you will live the rest of your miserable life in a cage, knowing you'll never have Vanessa. That this city rejected you. It beat you. I beat you. You'll keep my secret. And you won't harm Karen Page or fucking Nelson or anyone else. Because if you do, I will go after your wife.
Mahoney then runs in and apprehends Fisk. The officers unmasks Daredevil, revealing Poindexter, but Mahoney tells him that isn't the real one. He then points up to Murdoch, who is walking out of the room. The next day, the trio decides to found a new law firm known as Nelson, Murdoch Page. Later, Poindexter is taken into surgery to fix his paralysis. That's a wrap for this video. If you enjoyed it, Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads. Also, follow me on Instagram to stay updated on upcoming videos, get exclusive sneak peeks, and be the first to know what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.